Hey guys, what is up? My name is David and I'm the head of content over at Common RDW, and you are listening to an awesome interview that I got with Greg Lobanov, the head director for Chicory, A Colorful Tale, a game that I've been hyped for a minute now. Greg is also like pretty much the creative mind behind Wandersong, which is another amazing game that you should play if you haven't played it yet. It's on Switch and most other things. So highly recommended on that. But yeah, we're here talking about Chicory, which is a game that's been in development for a minute now. Greg, why don't you give people like the TLDR of what Chicory is for those who don't know?
Chicory is a coloring adventure game. It's best described as like a Zelda game in a coloring book world. So you're playing. It's in this world where there's a magical brush that can color the whole world in, and this brush is wielded by this famous legendary artist named Chicory. And at the beginning of the game, Chicory disappears, and all the color in the world goes with her. So you're playing as Chicory's number one fan. You take up Chicory's brush while she's missing, and you kind of go on this adventure, trying to find out what happened and coloring the world back in as you go.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I really like the straight up simple, like the base premise of the game. Like pretty much within like 5 minutes, you already get like, okay, there was a thing, now it's gone, now this is mine. Okay, let's go. So like you're really good at setting the scene pretty early on in your games. Like example Wandersong, when that game opens up, within like the first 3 minutes, the player is like, oh, okay, we're using the singing thing, and that's what we're doing. Okay, cool. And then you just go with it. So I really like that you pretty much kept that same idea here. But let's talk about how this game is pretty much like come to be. So it's a Kickstarted game, which is something that some people have mixed feelings about whenever you say, oh, this game is being Kickstarted. Some people take hesitancy to that. But also Wandersong was a Kickstarted game as well. That game ended up getting like 989 backers and over 21K pledged. But Chicory currently has over $80,000 raised from backers, and about 2,000 backers. And you guys had a base goal of $30,000. So you guys are way over budget. Dramatically different stances right there, showing how time has passed. So Wandersong was kickstarted. Time has passed. Now you guys are back on Kickstarter with Chicory, or you guys were fully funded, overfunded, and now you guys are pretty much in the phases of, I guess, working with publishers for the extra gaming cash. I don't know how making games works, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of how it works.
You got it exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like nail on the head right there. But how did you notice things were different when you guys opened up the Kickstarter campaign for Chicory, since you guys kind of already had like the pedigree already?
Yeah, I mean, really different. I mean, my trajectory through like making games has been pretty slow and steady with growth. I mean, I guess some people do less than me, but there's definitely like, it was never like an overnight success for me. Like before Wandersong, I made like a lot of games that were like, each one was just like a little bit, less popular than the one that would come after it.
Mm-hmm.
So like when Wandersong happened, that was like a huge deal to me, like getting like 20 grand on Kickstarter, and like the huge like success of that game with its fans and stuff. Like that was crazy, like unheard of for me, right? Even though I'd made like a dozen games before that, and then Chicory kind of like standing on the shoulders of that, getting even bigger, was like, yeah. I'm just always surprised because I don't know, yeah, like at the heart of it, the place that I come from making these games, it feels quite similar, like they feel just as personal and like, I don't know, weird and like indie, like it's just me and my friends making stuff together. So it's kind of surprising and cool and exciting, for that process to slowly like bring in more people and engage more people, and I don't know, yeah. Just have some people that are excited about something that we're doing. I think that's really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sure.
Yeah, I have this like survivor's guilt kind of thing, because like I remember how hard it was for so long, and like with Chicory, I think this might be the first time where like I haven't been worried about like having enough money to eat and that kind of thing, like through development. Like there's just never been like a crisis.
Oh, you're like in this situation where it's like we're at this point now. Dang, I made it. Oh, this is what it's like. You're like, oh,
yeah. This is like my first taste of basically that. I didn't, it's been really nice. Honestly, it's really comfortable and
Nice.
cool, and yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to have you in the position that you're in, making these awesome games. So let's talk a little bit about making games from like a creative concept. So like I remember I looked at an interview that you did, kind of almost like a TED talk at some indie game convention, where you were talking about how Wandersong started out as pretty much you guys made this dope like musical tool on the color wheel, and you guys are okay, this is a cool concept, let's make a game from this. So Chicory, I remember, like I said, in early stages, I saw like a drawing tool with like a dog, and I was like, oh, this is cute, can't wait to see how artists end up using this. And then time skip to now, oh, this is like a Zelda-like with painting mechanics in it. Oh, okay. So how did you guys go about with Chicory going from interactive drawing tool to where it is now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, at the outset of the game, like I wanted to make an adventure game that had like artistic aspects to it, kind of like how we did Wandersong. But it wasn't clear from the beginning that it was going to be like a top-down Zelda-like or whatever. I was just trying to figure out ways to make drawing work. And the top-down Zelda thing, I tried a couple ideas, and that ended up being like a really successful overlap in mechanics, because yeah, just the painting interactions added so much to that kind of like structure of game that already existed. And, you know, like once I kind of found that overlap and started playing with ideas there, that just like, you know, it's like you have one good idea and that idea is really cool, and then like it gives you this other really cool idea that you can do now because that worked, and because that worked, you can do this other thing that works because that thing worked. And
then,
so
like the snowball effect of creativity just starts coming in from there.
Totally, yeah. Okay. So it's like a lot of time of just like trying to fit pieces together, and then them click, and then you get that first click, and then suddenly like you could just tell it was like, oh my god, this is gonna go places. Like this is a really cool game. Like there's something here. I want to make this.
So did it ever seem like too ambitious at first? Were you guys like, okay, Zelda-like game that's been done already, but now coloring book. Then you guys were like, okay, how is this gonna engage the players in a certain way where they're not going to be like, because I know for sure there's going to be different ways that players are going to attack this, where there's going to be some that are going to want to paint in every single corner of this game, and that's going to be really dope to see at the end. But there's also going to be some where they're just going to straight up play through black and white, only paint what they need to. So like how did you guys end up going through the process of, do we really need to be this dedicated to the concept, or are we like just going all in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's definitely something that we are always kind of like, that's the line that I think almost defines this game. I don't see it as like it's not a limitation so much as I don't know, like it feels like an opportunity, because like that weird intersection that this game exists at is something that you don't see many places, but it gives us like, I don't know, it also adds lots of fun ideas into the game, like just like things the player can do that are totally optional. Like, yeah, just like every interaction in the game is really open-ended. Mm-hmm. So totally, it's like we were always thinking about, okay, so like someone who really wants to get creative with this, like how much space can we give them to do that? And then also thinking like, you know, for someone who just wants to get through this as fast as possible and get to like the puzzles or whatever, like how can we enable that as fast as possible? And like thinking about both of those extremes, it makes for like a game that I think feels really interesting and cool to me. Like, sort of, I guess, yeah, ambitious in the sense that we are trying to like cater to a pretty diverse type of player, you know, like I think two really different kinds of people are going to enjoy this game. And that when you say that, like it's, you know, like the fear is always like you're just going to give both people not what they want or half of what they want. But I mean, we're not going to know until like we really see the game out and with a lot of people playing it. But just from playtesting, and we've played this with a lot of different kinds of players, what we've seen is that so far it's really successful basically at all that stuff, which is what we were really hoping for, that like people who just want to like blast through the game, solve puzzles, fight bosses or whatever, like they are getting a really sweet Zelda game that just happens to have some painting in it. And people who want like a cozy storytelling collectible Animal Crossing thing,
this is for sure going to be like a great like game to be just like, we're going to chill out, we're coloring tonight. We're just playing Chicory. We're just coloring at night. That's like some people, that's exactly how they play this game. Mm-hmm. And some people, that is exactly not how they play this game. Yeah, that's gonna be great.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
So going off of the painting idea of Chicory, instantly my brain went to Epic Mickey. You played Epic Mickey, yeah?
Actually, I haven't.
Whoa, okay. I was like, that'll be interesting if you have not played Epic Mickey before. But you know of it, or?
I know of it. Yeah. I forgot
Yeah,
about. I'm looking it up right now. I forgot
yeah.
about that
So it
game.
was like a 3D adventure platformer on the Wii starring Mickey Mouse. And the concept was he has the ability to paint in objects, and he also has the ability to thin them out. So it was like a painting and erasing mechanic. So I was kind of like, okay, we're
Oh.
kind of going like in that direction with this, with the painting aspect.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was just wondering if you guys had any inspiration from that, because even though in Epic Mickey there was like a morality system, it's like, are you going to erase things or are you going to create them instead? So it'll be
Huh.
interesting seeing like the overlap, or like the how like the similarities come through with that, for sure. Especially
Totally.
considering
Yeah.
you were like, oh, we weren't even thinking about that game at all.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Epic Mickey. I'm just looking at a playthrough of it now. It's when I was starting this game, because there are a lot of games that have had drawing mechanics in them.
Mm-hmm.
There was like Scribble Knots and Drawn to
Yeah.
Life and Diblob and Mario Paint,
Oh,
and
Blob was great. Yeah.
I think I probably actually did look at like a couple of these of Epic Mickey back when, because there was a research phase where I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, like drawing adventure games, someone must have done this before. What are all things that have been done before that we can like look at? One thing that one reason why I like after doing that research phase, because I was just like, does this game that I want exist already? And the game I wanted didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I found with a lot of these games are that, so like there's on one end of the spectrum is like Mario Paint, which is just like a creative tool. You just draw. You can draw whatever you want, and there's no like structure or goal or anything. It's just a creative tool, which is really cool. Um, and then there's like games like Epic Mickey and Drawn to Life and others, where like the game is kind of more like a platformer, or it's an adventure game or whatever, like an RPG, and then it just has like a drawing mode that you go into to draw things.
Yeah.
Or like one game I looked at that I thought was really interesting was Crayon Physics. I don't know if you heard of this one. It's like an indie game.
No, I
It's like
never heard of that one.
it's a puzzle game where you can like just draw like any shape on the screen, and when you like pick up your like crayon or whatever, the shape just like turns solid and then has physics on it, so you can like fall and
Oh,
roll and
okay.
whatever. So it's like a puzzle
That's
game
cool.
where you're like trying to like move like a ball to a goal, and you can draw any shape you want. But what happens in that game, which I think is exemplary of a lot of games that have this kind of drawing mechanic, is like, because it's a puzzle game where you can draw anything, but like your goal is just like move a thing to another place. It's like, even though you can draw anything, what you end up doing is just like, you don't like, the game isn't about drawing stuff. The game is about getting this like ball to the goal or whatever, right? Like
Just so
solve the
you end up
puzzle.
making like the most constructive like things.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just draw the same square every level to drop down to push the ball to the same place, and there's no reason why you would ever like want to do something different. And if you ever like, the only way that game can make you want to do something different is like, oh, we had zones where you can't draw, or you have limited amount of inks, you have to think about that, and
So you
then
have to
like
pretty much like get the player in situations where they're gonna want to be more creative than they usually, like push those people out of their comfort zone, or like the
well, it's like the that's the closest you get, but to me, it's not even encouraging creativity. It's like, then it's like, oh, you're managing resources. Like, oh, you only have so much ink, so you have to use it,
mm-hmm.
or like, oh, you can't draw here, so like now you have to draw in this space, and that forces them to draw differently. But they're not really thinking like, oh, it's so fun, like I get to draw a shape like this now. They're just thinking like, oh, okay, I can't draw here, but if I draw here, then that works. Like, they're basically thinking like a puzzle
Yeah.
solver, and not like a kid with a box of crayons, which is what I want, right?
Oh yeah, that's
So
exactly where my head went as soon as like I noticed that I could, when I figured out I could change the colors and also change the size of the pen of the ink brush. I was like, okay, now this is, I can see a lot of things happening here. Like
totally,
um
yeah.
mhm.
So yeah, like the goal there was like, I want this game. I want a game that feels like Mario Paint. Like, you can just draw anything, anywhere, anytime, and that's like your main interaction. Like, that's what you do. But then it has like problem solving aspects to it that kind of work with that like very open ended system, rather than like blocking you in and forcing you to be creative or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
all these different ways these games kind of like don't quite work to me.
So
Um,
in terms of Chicory's platforms, I know that the demo I played was on PC. I was using controller, so for sure this game is also ended up coming to consoles at some point. Have you thought about putting it on like tablets at all? Because I was thinking like, when I was playing it, I was like, oh, if I could use my Apple Pencil with this would be dope. Because then I could actually do those like fine details and like draw actual designs or whatever. So I think like tablets would be a really cool interface if you ever thought about that.
I do agree, actually. Yeah, I think it would be really cool. There's a lot of problems to solve with trying to do that, because the game has a lot of like buttons and things, and
Oh
like
yeah,
there is like gameplay and items and like moving and talking as well as the drawing. So like, yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I'm really interested
the
in the
idea
idea.
is
And
there, but the execution
yeah,
is the question. Yeah.
yeah, because if we do it, like we want it to be really good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want that to be like a subpar version of the game. Because I know a lot of people would want to play that version of it. So, yeah, right now the game is not designed for that. I guess I
Okay.
should say. So maybe someday that'll be something we think about. But right now, that's not what we're thinking about.
Okay. Let's see. So, one thing I thought was really cool how Chicory handled naming the protagonist and even like the other characters in the game. Everyone's named after food, but it didn't click to me that the dog. I don't know if the dog has a like head like an actual canon name and back end, but if the dog is just unnamed and everyone names it whenever they want to, but when you open up the game, it asks you what your favorite food is. And I was like, oh, we're doing like a little Pokemon Mystery Dungeon interview. Okay. And I put pizza. And I feel like a couple other people on Twitter put pizza too, because I noticed most people were naming the dog pizza.
Pizza is actually the default name.
Oh, pizza's the default name? Oh,
Yeah.
dope. Okay.
Well, we picked it because it's like I literally just Google searched like what is the most popular food on
And
Earth,
pizza
and it
was
was
the
like
answer.
pizza is number one. And I was like, okay, well that's the main character.
Oh, that's dope. Okay, cool. But I do like that you guys do give players like the flexibility to pretty much like give that character a more bit of like what's the word, like the personification of them in the dog, because like someone could be like, oh, I like ice cream, and then the dog's name is ice cream, or like cake and the dog's name is cake and stuff like that. And I thought that was cool because even back in Wandersong, you could name the bard, and because there was like they asked the character what his name is, and then like he'll just a whole bunch of random letters will pop up and you just sing each individual letter, and I ended up naming him Bant, like banter, but then it's like a whole bunch of other people named him different things, so I was like, oh, okay, that was just a little note that I was like, oh, that's dope, little individualism in there.
Yeah, I don't like. It's not like a thing I'm trying to do on purpose. I don't know why it is that I keep making these games that have just like nonsense naming conventions to them, but it's fun. It's like in the moment for each one of those games there was a reason to do it then, but yeah, maybe now that'll just be my thing. Is all my games just have goofy names for the character.
Yeah, that good fits. And speaking of like the names of each character, Chicory, I looked it up what Chicory even is, and it's a plant.
It is, yeah. It's also a coffee substitute.
Yeah.
So
like out of all the things to name like the main like character that the game is named off of, why Chicory? Was there like a reason, or it rolled off the tongue in a certain way?
Yeah, honestly, the roll off the tongue was the biggest part of it. We have a long list of just like food names like that. We were just like food names that we think would make good animal names. And then it was like, okay, well, there's this character that we don't have the name for yet, but she's like the most important character in the game. The game's going to be named after her, presumably. Like that just makes sense. Like just how you have like Zelda or whatever.
Yeah.
So, we were looking at names that just had like the coolest kind of ring to them. We thought about like Blackberry, a lot of these like 3-syllable kind of like, just like really nice cadence sounding words like that. Chicory just ended up being kind of the perfect mix of really fun to say. And I do like how that it has a connotation that's actually related to color, because chicory is like it also has an association with that specific shade of blue that the flower is, which I think is just like cool. And yeah, it just sounds nice to say. It's a food. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, because before I even like knew it was a actual thing, I was like, oh, that's a cute name for a game. Because if, like you said, if you guys named it like Lemon, a colorful tail, then it'd be like, why lemon?
Not the same so right? Yeah,
it has enough like nuance where like not enough people know what it is. They have to like look it up first. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, nice touch. Let's see. So one cool thing with your game's stories and the writing, like Wandersong, 100% amazing writing. Like it opened up as this jolly, colorful game, and I'm like, oh, this is like I'm playing a Saturday morning cartoon. This is so cute. And then later on, like halfway through, you're like, oh, it's real now. Oh, we're in existentialism right now. Okay. So it like ended up hitting like a more mature tone of storytelling, and the characters grew in a way that you didn't actually expect. And whenever I pitch Wandersong to my friends, I'm like, oh yeah, you know that colorful game? I cried a couple times playing that. And they're like, what the fuck? So I'm just like, so I'm going off of playing the demo of Chicory. Like on the tail end, there's like some permeating darkness that's in the world that you're gonna end up having to deal with. And even in like the tagline of the game, it's a game about becoming someone. So there's like a little bit of a deeper meaning that's gonna probably pop up in there somewhere. So I'm expecting to be in my field at some point. So when you're writing these stories, how do you end up like going from it's a cute story about a dog with a paintbrush, but we got to get that lesson in there somewhere. We got to make people feel things.
I don't know if there's like, I try not to bring any conscious intention of like this game has to be deep, or it has to like, you know, mean XYZ, or be like this significant. I try, but you know, I do care a lot about just being genuine to the characters in the story and trying to develop those characters in an organic way. And I guess for me, that just means that like, you know, even a character who at the outset has like a really simple kind of like, I don't know, like premise or like idea to them, like as they kind of like explore this complicated world and run into different situations, like you know, like people bounce off each other, things collide, things happen, and like, you know, like shit just can't help but get real because that's the world they live in, you know. like you know, things always just like happen like that. So I don't know, I think that's why it happens for me. And like, yeah, I don't want to promise that like this game is gonna, like compared to Wandersong, for example, I don't want to say like, oh, this game is gonna mean way more or way less or whatever, right? It's just like it's this game, it's the story, and it's about what it's about. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see. So based off of the trailers, I know like you had your own studio or like your own team, and you guys did Wandersong, but you also pulled some people from Night in the Woods and also from Celeste on this as well. And those games are obviously just big featured names to put in the trailer, and just like, oh, I love those. So what type of team did you end up assembling for Chicory?
We honestly, like everyone who's working on this game are people that I was friends with before starting this project. A lot of them are.
It's all good.
A lot of them were like people who like I had been wanting to work with for a long time, like people who I met while I was working on Wandersong, and whose work I liked for various reasons. I was like, you know, someday I just want to like make something with this person. So that's kind of where a lot of them came from. It was just like all these people who was like, hey, someday we should make something. And they were like, yeah. And then I came back a couple years later, I was like, hey, let's do that thing that I said we would do.
I want to claim that favor real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that we would do this. So basically like that. I mean, a lot of people who do game stuff, like, I mean, a lot of them live in the same area as me, or we just see each other at events and stuff because we're all kind of in the same community. We're all like friends with the same friends and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just kind of a world that we're all in. Like, yeah, like I was really close with the team who was working on Celeste when they were working on Celeste, and the team was working on Night in the Woods and they were working on Night in the Woods. I mean, M, who did the sounds for Night in the Woods, also did the sounds for Wandersong. Like, she was doing those games at the same time. Okay. So yeah, like it wasn't even like the connection was there from the get-go. Like, yeah,
it was meant to be type of thing.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, me and M especially, like she's the one person I think who worked on Wandersong who's on this game as well, and we just had like a really good creative partnership. Like, Wandersong was our first game we made together, and we just clicked together so well, and we just knew we were gonna make more games together. So yeah, like, yeah, yeah, you could say it was meant to be or something. It's just, yeah, it's awesome when you find someone like that who like you can work with so well. Yeah, right. You don't want to let go of that.
Yeah, really good creative minds and like the synergy for sure. Okay, and then also in terms of how time has passed, the last time when I was looking up reference material for the interview, the last main thing that you were at was PAX in 2019. So I was like, oh wow, that's a thing. So I miss conventions so much. How has it been being an indie dev in the position where you guys pretty much are working remote, making this game from your houses basically, or whatever your current situation is, and still trying to get this game out there. Luckily, the Steam Game Festival happened, so a lot more people got this game on their radar. But how's that been working out for you guys?
I mean, as far as the actual process and team goes, I mean, a lot of us were already working remote, like from our houses or separate. So as far as like the work situation, the pandemic actually probably had like almost no impact on this game, like in terms of like pipeline and stuff. Definitely impacted like every other aspect of everyone's lives. So that's not easy to ignore. And definitely, like you mentioned, conventions. I think that probably is actually the number one thing that I miss, that I feel like I wish that we'd had gotten to have more during development, especially because like this is a game that's about kind of like giving the player tools to express themselves. So it's really fun to work on, but it doesn't feel complete unless like someone is kind of playing this and exploring it themselves. Like it's fun. Like I'm building like this structure for someone else to basically like make this game, right? So like I feel like I've been missing a little bit of that. Like when we were doing Wandersong, we were going to events regularly, and not that it even changed the game that much, but it just was really encouraging at every step of the way to see people like playing and enjoying it, and
Getting a lot
seeing
of that active feedback on the show floor.
Yeah, just like seeing that the game worked and getting that reminder that it is like a fun game and not just like a list of things to do and bugs to fix. So definitely missing like that aspect of it, but yeah, I mean, I think as far as like actually getting the game done and like what we're putting into it, I think it's you wouldn't know the difference basically.
Okay.
Which is good. It helps too probably that like we already were quite far along with the game before pandemic hit, so like we didn't have to like we already knew what we were doing basically. Like we didn't have to like solve creative problems, or well, okay, we did, but
yeah,
now we were like making up a game from scratch in this position, which is cool.
Cool. And then last thing I want to talk about, pretty much going off of what I said earlier, how Steam Game Festival, people sharing their screen caps and their gameplay via YouTube and Twitter. This game is pretty much, it's cool that this game is also being worked on in a year where new Pokemon Snap is a thing now. Because I'm pretty sure when new Pokemon Snap releases, there's going to be a lot of people that are like, I don't really want to get new Pokemon Snap. But then all of a sudden that week, the flood of screen caps comes onto social media. And I feel like Chicory is going to be no different, especially when just people coloring in their worlds in different ways or designing certain things in game. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes on social media. So in terms of that, have you guys really been like thinking about like, oh, this game is gonna promote very well on its own? Like we're gonna have to do minimal like effort to market this because the players are gonna basically do it on their own.
Well, actually, I hadn't thought about it that deeply, but now that you mention it, yeah, I think that is gonna be kind of awesome. There are some things that we did think about, like we added one feature into the game, this like time lapse thing where every screen you draw on, you can like view a replay of it.
Oh yeah.
And that was like a really big hit with a lot of people who were playing the demo, which like, yeah, it was just like something I added that I was hoping people would like. And I realized after seeing the way people interact in the demo, like how cool that, like how much more fun that made it for people to share like stuff they were drawing. So I definitely want to like lean into that more. Like we added that just this week in a couple of places where we hadn't had that enabled before because we realized that people were actually going to be using it. So I think that part is really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's really great when like, yeah, that the game has that aspect of like people being able to kind of show their personal experience of it and share with other people. That part's really cool. I don't know like how, like, you know, all I really think about is like just trying to make the best experience I can and hope that that's good enough that people will want to share that with their friends, you know? Like everything else is kind of out of your control. You don't really know, like, you know, maybe the game will blow up, maybe it won't go anywhere. Like I've made games that were all over the spectrum when it comes to this stuff. Like I made games that I thought were going to be huge and didn't do great. And I made games that were like whatever, and they ended up being way bigger than I expected. So like I like don't even want to like try to make guesses or pretend I know what's going to happen when it comes to that stuff. But there's, I guess, the most I can say is we definitely like think at least a little bit about how well the game shows. Like this isn't even like thinking about marketing campaigning thing. I think it's just like part of my progress as a designer, like as a video game designer, is just thinking about designing a game that like when you look at it, you can like, it looks like fun and you can tell what's happening in it. and that helps you with marketing, but that just makes the game stronger for players too. That's something that I've been like thinking a lot about, is like how to improve along that access, because I think it makes a big difference to how people like interpret the game, and like how it feels to them basically. I think that's one thing that made Wandersong way more successful than a lot of the games I've done before, is that's just like Chicory. It's a game you look at and like it's so straightforward and simple, like what's happening there. And it makes you curious. You're like, oh, like, so that's the game, like what then what happens next, kind of thing, right? Like, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then I was thinking, like, are you guys gonna probably like, this is just my head and like a little funny to me. I'm just like late game, you guys are gonna put out a statement where it's like, hey, don't show what it looks like to color in like the last area of the please, like don't spoil the last pages of the coloring book, please, because I'm pretty sure people are gonna be like so excited to just like show off as many like coloring creations as possible. But
I don't think it's a huge risk actually. There's stuff that's like story spoilers, but like if someone hasn't played this game, or even if they're playing the game, like seeing a screen you haven't seen before, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like
so little context. You're like, oh.
Yeah, what makes that stuff cool for you as a player is like when you've kind of like been on that entire journey yourself, and then when you get to that place and you see that, it's a reward for you because you got there, like you found it, right? Like you played this whole game, you explored, and you found this thing. Like that's what makes that thing cool, is really like how it reflects your own journey and experience. So, even if someone like took a screenshot of something from the end of the game and showed it to somebody, like, would it be cool if they saw it for themselves first? Probably, but like, are they like losing something? Not really. Like, I don't think so. I'm not so worried about that. Like, I mean, and I generally trust that players are gonna want to respect one another when it comes to that stuff. Like, people like when people really love a game, like they know what makes it cool for them, right? Like they know what they liked about the story. They know what parts they enjoyed being surprised by, and they know better than to try to ruin that for someone else by telling them about it. People don't want to. Yeah. So I think I put a lot of faith, I guess, in people to share the game the way that it makes sense for them to share it.
Sure. So Chicory is stated to release in 2020X, so no defined release date of 2021. Fingers crossed anyway, yeah. So what is there anything you want to like say to the players who are pretty much just waiting in bated breath to get their hands on this game, or is the demo for the Steam Game Festival still on Steam right now, or was it like a limited thing?
It's limited time only, yeah. Which I know some people are they wish it was on for longer, but yeah, we have the demo out only for special events and for our Kickstarter backers. That was like a special thing we did for them, so we wanted to keep it special. There are a lot of things that I really do want to say, but there's basically nothing that I can say right now.
Gotcha.
Other than please stay tuned, because we are like, I can't say anything, but we are trying. We like for anyone who's anticipating this game, it's like you think like, oh my god, I'm so excited to play this game. Like I can't wait for it to come out. All this stuff. Like as excited as you think you are, we are like 10 times more excited than you to see like how people play with this game, and to finally just show people all this stuff that's in it, because we all put so much heart and work and effort into it, and like we want people to see it really badly. So like the fact that we're not saying anything is not because we hate you, it's because
trying to keep it good. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally understandable.
Yeah, awesome. But it will happen. It will come out.
Oh yeah, we're just gonna. We're at this point, honestly, like my backlog's so long. Like you can take as much time as you need to, dude. Like I'm just like I can wait on that. But again, thank you so much, Greg, for giving me your time to talk to you about Chicory, A Colorful Tale. It sounds great. It looks amazing. Music is great, and like hearing you say that you and your team are so excited to get this out to players is very reassuring, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. So thank you so much. Do you have any like social links you want to promote, or anything you want to say about Chicory before we close out?
Yeah, well, if people want to follow the game, we're at Chicory on Twitter, and you can also check like our publisher Finji. They did Night in the Woods and Tunic, and they also they host a Discord, which is where there's like a community for Chicory stuff. Those are like the big two ways I think if you want to follow the game. And we have a newsletter as well. Links for basically everything related to this game actually are at chicorygame.com, so you can go there and get all our stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having this talk with me, Greg, and thank you so much for listening to the watchers out there. Hope this answered any questions that you might have had, or if you didn't know about Chicory already, now you do. So we will see you on the next video. Bye bye.